All right, I'm back for another night. I'm just going to do this for another hour once again. So I have to load up C-Line real quick. Had it closed earlier today for when I was typing on the laptop at a conference. Had to save battery power. Um, okay, so where we left off yesterday, I went ahead and I created a README. I didn't like having the the plans for this to be within the actual code, so I went ahead and split it out. um, so yesterday, uh, I was kind of bouncing around the idea of using a cyclical buffer, um, where if I have some values, I'm going to have a pointer to one of them and then another one. And then on one iteration, I'm going to pop or remove one item. And then at the same time, in a different process, add items. So it would kind of go like this. I take an item out, put one in, or this one increments and this one may not increment but still stay the same. But I'd want it to increment, but that's neither here nor there. I think I decided what I wanted to do is I don't want to bore any of you with creating this data structure in a thread-safe way, or I don't want to. Oh, I shouldn't say or, but I don't want to bore you with creating a queue in a thread-safe way. So that's the kind of thing. That's the data structure I'm going to go with because the queue offers a little bit more of an advantage. For one, I don't have to worry about this pointer here overriding this data spot. Not that that would happen anyway, really, because I have locking in place and things like that. So I could always add checks to make sure that these two things don't happen. But while I'm doing that, there's always the possibility that my program's still reading in input from IRC. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to have anything kind of go wrong. So what I would like to do instead is use a queue, and I don't want to implement that for you guys because the whole point of this is to build an IRC bot, right? So not a let's learn how to build a queue in C, especially a thread-safe one. Not saying I can't do it, I just don't want to. So this morning, while I was having breakfast, waiting for people to show up for the conference, I went ahead and did some research. I found this queue here, STSQ. I thought this was really interesting to use, or to look at least, because the way this is implemented is very different from what I have ever seen in C. Specifically this part right here. Simple thread safe queue is just an experiment with a simulated namespace in C. This is a very interesting concept because for those of you who don't know, C is not an object-oriented language, and it has no concept of namespaces. Maybe it does in a later standard, but that I do not know about for sure. And also on top of that, I'm trying to stick to the 99 standard. Now that's fairly old. There's a much more recent one, but I don't know all the bells and whistles, so I figure I just leave it the default. But anyway, back to this. So I thought this was really interesting, how they have this little struct here. It all has function pointers to various pieces within the C file. And what happens here is it's going to do an extern of whatever this is. And when we look at the C file, we'll scroll down all the way. This is kind of what's being exported out. The way this works is I guess when we look at the main C file here, we have quite literally a namespace of sorts. Or if you're familiar with another language, this might actually look more similar to uh, a static function call on some class. But like I said, this isn't object oriented, so I thought this was a very interesting uh, project. And in the README, what might be interesting is to see how I use the struct to simulate a namespace. Everything except if what I choose to export is private. This makes it easy to think in terms of modules. Design of a module interface becomes a separate task and might thus get more attention than otherwise. So I kind of went through the code already a little bit, and I like that. I think I actually want to use it because well, first of all, I kind of think the whole idea is interesting, but second of all, the license is probably the most important piece about this. It's MIT, so I can just, for lack of better words, drop this into my application. I found this other one called TinyQ, but they have a modified license. And this is the modified part. I'm not entirely like, I mean, I get why this author did it. So just to say, this software should not be used by any member of Breitbart for any purposes. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. I'm not familiar with the news station that much, but I do know it's notorious for fairly conservative views and articles. I'm in America, so that's what I'm referring to politically. Or used in an official capacity by any organization that makes money from Breitbart. While I like this guy's library, I disagree with this being in the license. I know that some people don't like that company, but I don't know. It just bothers me that there's some sort of restriction like that there. Now, I'm not endorsing Breitbart by any means. I just don't think it's fairly appropriate to have open and free software yet exclude one particular person. So that's my reason for not using this. Though I do like the code that's in here. For sure. This is more of a typical C fashion header file without the use of namespaces. So we have just our functions, maybe some sort of a struct. Well, in this case, we would have a struct, but looking at the code here, the thing that this guy does differently is he makes use of this pthread condition int in it. I don't know what that does, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that he went a little bit further to work with signals within threads. So that's kind of interesting. I could Google that just to see what it is. So let's go try that real quick. I don't want to talk about this too much because I think I know. I think the most interesting thing that we're going to be doing tonight is trying to put these libraries into the application so we can kind of see what the CMake file would turn into when I decide to compile in the files. And I know that's something I haven't touched on yet, and I probably should have a long time ago, but I guess better late than never, right? But anyway, okay, so interesting. So these two functions, the pthread condition signal and pthread condition broadcast, these two functions are used to unblock threads blocked on a condition variable. Interesting. So the signal call unblocks one of the threads that are blocked on the specific condition variable, and the other one unblocks all threads currently blocked by the specified condition variable. So I'm guessing this is some sort of play here on let's wake up. I don't like when they expose the internals of structs like this, but okay, so I guess it's just some sort of a type. This wake up is some sort of a type. I don't exactly know what else it is. There's no malloc for it that I can see in here, so I'm guessing it's just some piece of data. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting, but I'm going to go ahead and go with the this solution, partly because they have a much more less restrictive license, and then also because I think this is kind of cool what this guy did. I've kind of been looking for something like this for a while now to incorporate in some of my projects, so I like to give it a shot. So let's go ahead and do that. Normally what I would do is I would probably create some sort of a lib folder in my project, so I'll just do that. Since this is Git, it might be nice if I could go ahead and let's see here. I think what I'm going to go do is I'm going to do a git init in here since it doesn't already exist. We have some files. I have that lib directory, so I'm just going to go into it right here, and then what I'm probably going to do is do a git sub mod. I think the command is man git module or something like that. Let's see here. Oh, I'm just going to close these two tabs. I don't need them anymore. Git sub module. So yeah, so I think this is what I'm going to use. It's not subtree. There's like another command that's like subtree, but I don't think that's what I want. So I'm just going to do git sub module, right? Add, and then the repository. So git module add. I'm going to go to the GitHub here. I'm going to not do that. I didn't mean to click on his name. Go here, clone or download, and I do everything over SSH, and you probably should too. There's the repository, but we're inside lib, so what I would do is I would do, we'll just call it STSQ. Okay. Alright, if we go back out, a directory should have the submodules listed. Git modules, okay, just now popped up. Oh, there it is right there. Sorry, I didn't see that it was staged. I'm used to seeing a different terminal window here with some of my other IDEs. So we went ahead and put it in there. What I would like to do is I would like to run the make file here. Well, first and foremost, I think what I want to do before I even do that is I don't like to have a messy git area, so I'm just going to do touch git ignore, and then I'm going to open that up, and we're going to, that's not the git ignore, we're going to open it up, and we're going to add the lib that in there. That way I don't have to check it in, and the git module should still function correctly. Yep. I also like to add in a lot of other things into my git ignore here. What's nice about this IDE in particular is that I can add templates to it. So if I go to Mac, I can just click that checkbox. JetBrains, which is the company that made C-Line, and then C, we got C and C++, but we're only doing C, and I think that's all I want. Normally I would also probably try to include Windows in here, but I'm not going to because this project won't work on Windows thanks to the p-threads, but I'll go ahead and add Linux in here, and then click generate, and there we go. We've got a nice little git ignore going, and to top it all off, I'm going to include my IDE settings, so that way when I finally get this committed, no one has to look at anything. So I don't know why libstsq is still checked in, but I need to add a file here. Git keep. This is what I use to keep directories in my repository, so I know that they're always there. And then I think what I want to do is I want to not add it, so I don't know why. I think the command is whoops, git checkout libstsq. I've never checked out an actual directory before, so I don't know if. Nope, that didn't do it. You know what? I'm just going to do this. Going to go ahead and I don't want to delete it, but revert show diff. Oh. Dang it. I think revert is what I want, but I don't want to revert it. But I didn't commit it, so it shouldn't, like. Oh boy. I don't know why it's trying to add it in there in the first place. I'm just going to Google this real quick. Git unstage directory. Oh, so I have to use this. Okay. We'll try it out. What's the worst that could happen? Everything gets deleted. And I just type in. Sweet. Okay. Well, that's that. Go ahead and add everything, and we'll only see what's new. Cool. Oh, you know what I forgot to add to this template? Anything with involving CMake. That's actually pretty important. Especially when working with CLine, because it likes to add a whole bunch of CMake crap to it. So we're going to go ahead and add that in there, and that should add to the bottom suite. Okay, and it's going to remove the make file. Interesting. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense because I'm using CMake, so it's okay if the make file gets doesn't get generated. So sorry for the distraction there. I like to keep things nice and clean. I'm just not going to commit yet, so we'll just leave it as that. Okay, so anyway, what I wanted to do originally was look at this make file here, kind of see how it's being compiled. So right here it's being compiled with GNU. I have that ability. Arguably, I probably would like and probably should change my compiler for my project. I forgot how in CLine. I think there's a tool chains thing here. Oh boy. Options? No, that's not it. Usually you can type in like double shift or whatever in here, and it should bring up like some sort of preferences, but we'll see. Tool chains, here we go. So I have one for, so I have a little Arduino, so I have an AVR GCC cross compiler set up, but I would like to use my GNU setup for this. I don't need to, but I want to kind of keep everything all similarly set up. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, shoot, why don't I just include the files in here and just pretend they're part of my project. I'd rather compile it as a library if I can, and that's what I'm trying to do. I want to try to put it in here as a library and use it like that, because I didn't write the code. So where was I? Right. So, so what I think I can do here is, I think I already tried looking in here. That's not it. I need to go to the actual project settings. So, default settings. I think that's what I want. And then set up the tool check. Oh, tool cheats are not in there. Man, I forgot how to do this. I've done it for a few projects already, but shoot. Because I think right now my project is using Clang, the Clang compiler. That comes with Mac. So I have to do some work to change that. But I just don't remember how. There's something you can do. It's not there. Maybe I need to go back to preferences. Do I need to make like the copy? No. Well, I can't right click it. Do I need to add like a specific target or something? Do application, program environments, executable, select other. No, I don't have any other to select. Crap. Sorry about that. There's supposed to be something to do that. I'll do one last check. I figured it out before, but I probably shouldn't do that during live stream. Okay. So that's to set it up. Doesn't show you how to use it. Deployment, building. Ah, screw it. Whatever. I'm not going to deal with it. That ship has sailed right now. So why don't I go ahead and just compile it anyway. So I'll go into the lib stsq, and then just go into the source, and then no make file found. Am I in the right directory? Oh, I need to go upper directory. Make. Oh, all right. You know what? Whatever. For sake of argument, let's just do this quickly. So, all right. So first of all, I'm trying to make sure that pthreads exist. So that's how this works in CMake. You find a library, add in. This will try to CMake will try to find it where it's located. If it's found, I'm just including the directories. Otherwise, I'm telling myself to go ahead and it couldn't find it. This is helpful if you're on Windows, so that way they know they can't just compile this. But I got fed up with trying to find the well, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, so I'm just going to include directories, and then I'm just going to look into the lib stsq/source, and then I'm going to add a file here, which will be stsq or lib, sorry, lib q source. Oh, I missed a directory. stsq.c. So we're going to go ahead and copy that, and then we're just going to do this number. Oh no, I still missed a directory. I don't like how this one was set up. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And we're going to go back to here, and we're going to get rid of the C part. I think I might actually keep it the way it was. So that way I can just use stsq in my header, and it should work. Could not find the source file. Lib sts-q. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Did I? Yeah, I did. For those of you paying attention, definitely notice that one. Sweet. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this directory in my IDE as external. So, well, nah, never mind. I'm not going to deal with that. So then in here, what I should be able to do now is do this thing where I just do include stsq, and then I can be like stsqh, and that's that. This is why I like CMake. Let's try to compile it, make sure it works. Sweet. Okay, well that's that. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So I think what I need to do is I'm just going to go ahead and delete crap I don't really need anymore. In this case, I'm going to be changing the read buffer args to nothing. Actually, no, that's what I'm passing into the thread. So what I should do instead is I should keep this, but instead change the property of this to whatever the Q is. So let's go up to, whoop, not there. What we're looking for is, well, this actually brings up a good point. I think it's STS header, so we need to point into that. And we'll just call this the Q. I think I need a semicolon there. Yeah. And then here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and delete this stuff, and then since this is a pointer that I'm going to get back, I'm just going to do q equals stsq dot create, and that should give me one. Cool. The semicolon there. Already this is looking really nice. I can finally get rid of all this pthread mutex stuff. That's nice. So this is the benefit of using data structures that are actually thread safe. It takes a lot of the burden of doing this sort of stuff, this locking, out of the developer's hands. So it should be pretty trivial just for me to do, what did I even call it, args, and then it'll be arrow to q dot push, and then I should be, well, in this case it's a pointer, so I need to do another arrow. Do I not have that as an autocomplete? Oh, is it in Q? I don't know. I should have autocomplete. Maybe it's because I don't have that. Doubt it. Nope. Okay, I'm back to square one where I don't know what I'm doing again. Let's see. Gonna Control Z that. Whoops. No, I'm pretty sure I accessed it right. Yeah, args, arrow, q, and it should be arrow, but, or is it dot? Oh, this is interesting. So this is the interesting thing about this namespace. Now I don't know what to do. Um, oh no, wait, no, I know what to do. Gosh, I'm forgetting that this is not another language. I keep forgetting that this is not like C#. So what I would do is stsq push, and then I'm going to pass in the argsq because that's what we need to do. And then since the output is a string, we have to. Well, I don't need to put in reference into it. So, but it is a void pointer, so it might try to do a cast to a void pointer, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and push into that queue, right? Then what I'm going to do is in my main thread. I'm not going to be dumb this time. I'm actually going to try to remember that this is the main part of my thread. I got tripped up last time because I looked at pthread join and I was like, oh, this must be right after that is where my main thread is. It's not entirely. That's somewhat true, but but I've also closed out the other thread by that point, so that's not where we're at right now. So so what I'm going to do is since we're doing a publisher and consumer model. I want to keep the sleeping. I want to keep the sleep happening, so that way. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to keep the sleep because what we're doing here is I need to do a while true. It's like if I did while q not empty. Let's suppose that main thread executes that line first. It's going to stop it's going to break the while loop, go down here to pthread join and wait for that thread to join. I don't want that, so I'm just going to keep it while true, and then instead I'm going to say while stsq dot well, here's a limitation in this library that I just discovered. Where's the internal counter? I don't know how much is in the queue. But what I could do instead is I could say pop, and then oops, and then I'm going to do the well, I already have the. I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have done some sort of pointer up here. So this would be what was it? It was a type of STS header, and then since this is not a pointer, I have to make it one. So we'll just call this the Q, and then instead I'm going to do one of these numbers, and so I'm going to make this equal Q. Do that. Oops, can't have that double equal in there. And that should take care of that. And then what I can do is I can do Q here, and then the pop. I don't know if it returns the void pointer or not. Okay, so pop just takes a handle. So okay, so I don't need to do any of that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a char pointer to we'll just call it the line, and we're going to do that, and we're going to cast that to a char pointer. Oh, I don't need to do that, sorry, because it's a void pointer, so we're going to cast it back out. Now it would be nice if I could have this length of the string, but what I could do instead is I could say, well, I would check for a null pointer. I don't know if it returns a null pointer or not. I would assume it does. Yep, returns a null. So I'm going to go ahead and do while. Some people like to do while not line. I like to be explicit, so I'll just be like while line is not null, or equals to null in this case, sorry. We're going to go ahead and sleep, continue execution. After that sleep, we're going to do another pop, and see if anything comes out, and then we're going to free that line because we still need to do that. I did say in the previous video I would remember to do that, and here it is. And then we're going to just pass in that line. Now it'd be nice if I knew what the line length was at this point, but I could always create some struct later to take care of that. Now the interesting thing here is that this will always run, so I need some way to note that we're done with this. So what I could look for is, this might be dangerous. I was about to say that I could probably look for the actual Q variable, this right here. Like I could look for this in this function here and be like, oh, before we return null, go ahead and set this to null, clean up space, set it to null, and then I would be able to check that it's not null. I don't think I would need to put a mutex around that. Because yeah, why would I do that? I don't think I need to put a mutex around that. Because I don't care. I mean, I'm going to make it like stop execution when it is null, so that's okay. This is going to stop before it joins, so I might. Okay, folks, this is kind of hairy, but it might work just fine. Well, at least I think it will. But I need to make sure to do some cleanup while if I want to have this handle that. I don't generally like to do this. I'd actually rather not do it this way. Because now I'm making this thread responsible for cleaning up the queue. And I don't necessarily want that, because what if this stops, but I still have items in it? So yeah. See, look, that's the reason why I don't want to do that. Just have to think through things sometimes. So what I should do instead is I should just go ahead and pass in some sort of a variable to let us know that we're not quite done. Man, how did I handle this in my services? I did something very similar at work, write a concurrent queue, but I forgot what I did to note that we were done. I think what I ended up doing is I think I had some sort of volatile, and I'm speaking from C# perspective here. I think I had some sort of volatile variable that I just flipped to let us know that it was done. So what I want to do is I want to know if so the way I could do this is I could say, while the queue is well, I don't want to say not empty, so if the queue has no items and the bit is flipped, go ahead and stop. So I could do that. Why don't I go ahead and do that? bool. Maybe this is what that pthread signaling could be useful for this very situation, honestly. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, so I'm just going to do, whoops, why is it not, okay, we're going to do that. Well, what I mean to say is bool threads stopped equals false, and then we're going to point to that. Whoops. And then we're going to actually, you know what? This actually might be a better situation for here. I would want to contain the queue item count, which I'm actually, which I probably should have in here, honestly. I'm surprised that this queue doesn't even implement that. I'm kind of disappointed, but this is a great, case for me to do some open source and actually submit a pull request to his project that addresses that issue. So I'm just going to add a reminder here, add counter. This thread stopped. I think this might be a good case for making it a global variable. Just because I know that I'm only going to have 2 threads. Read thread stopped. Could do that, and then just say read thread IRC read thread stopped equals true. There's a keyword here that I want to use. I don't know where it goes. C volatile. Here we go. Oh boy. I think the okay, yeah. Oh well, not even modified by an interrupt service. Yeah, here we go. Global variables accessed by multiple tasks within a multi-threaded application. I actually like this website. I've actually been here a couple of times for various reasons. Just through Google searches, they always seem to have interesting and nice articles. But yeah, so I want to use this correctly because I'm going to be changing it in another thread, and I don't want the compiler to optimize it out if at all possible. So we're going to have to do that. So I'm not even going to worry about doing any sort of locking on this. So what I want to do instead is I just want to say while STS, well, for better purposes, while the IRC thread, so while not that, and what I want to do is and not empty, of course. Unless the pop returns, yeah, it does. See, it doesn't. This is the challenge here. Okay, so now I'm going to want to try to create my counters. So I do need to use some sort of mutex. from this. This is why programming with threads should be done lightly. There is a lot to think about. Q counter, Q item count. I'm just going to set that to 0. I want to make this a size t, so it cannot be less than 0. Size t, Q item count. Okay. Q item count equals a reference to Q item count, which I forgot needs to be a pointer because we want to modify it. So there we go. We got that passed in now, so now I can say Q item count equal to 0, and we're going to break execution. So I'm just going to go ahead and do an unlock here. So we're going to lock it, unlock it, and here we're going to have to do this something similar. We're going to have to lock it, pthread mutex, ampersand mutex, unlock it, and then pthread mutex lock. And then we're going to add that mutex there too. Cool. And then similar to before, we're going to do this crazy ass C magic here, which is, I didn't even bother looking this up online last night. I probably should have, but I got really tired. I don't know, going to conferences kind of just wear me out sometimes. You know, so much information to absorb and, you know, what have you. Okay. I think we're set here, other than the fact I need to remove an item. So I need to do the pthread mutex lock and good grief. Minus, right? And then unlock it. Cool. I'm just going to do that here after we free it. Cool. So the goal here was that the buffer is just going to push into this queue, while this main thread is now actually going to perform work. Because originally, when we set up this application a couple of days ago, this was doing all the work, this thread right here, and I don't want that, because if there's a bottleneck at any, like for instance, if I'm doing any file I/O operations, I don't want to cause any more blocks in this than I have to. So why not just have my other thread handle that? Obviously, the consequence of that is I have issues with having to deal with the locking pieces here. It's kind of a mess. But it does serve a very good purpose. So now I can have IRC just send commands in. I can have this thing read them like crazy until the thread is stopped and the queue is empty. I need to have an AND statement in there, so I need to change that. I need to keep that while true, and then while that and. So if thread stopped, true, and item count is equal to 0, go ahead and unlock it, break, what have you. And I'm just going to while true that. Okay. Let's go ahead and test it. All right, so we're able to connect just fine. Well, I don't know that yet. We'll see here in a second. Provided everything works okay. So far, it doesn't appear to be working a-okay whatsoever. What did I mess up? Well, let's debug it. Let's see here. First of all, let's check to make sure that we're even getting into this part right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw a breakpoint on that. Throw it on debugger, and we got to it. So that's good news. We got a line. Is it in the queue? That's a good question. That I do not know. It doesn't look like it. Do I need cast it to a void pointer? It accepts a pointer, but it's not a void pointer. I don't need cast it. Well, what's the memory location of that? Doesn't tell me, I don't think. 7E000. Oh, this might actually be it. So it looks like it is in there. 7X FE5ACE, and then a whole bunch of zeros. Yep, so it's in there. Let's go ahead and see if our counter increments. So let's go ahead and do one of these numbers, which I think broke things. I'm just going to redo this. I probably should have pushed the next button. Nope, not that button either. Wow. Let's go ahead and try this again. Ooh. That's interesting. Wonder why that's failing. Probably because I wonder if I ran into a situation where something already has access to it. Oh. That could have been it. I probably never unlocked it. Oh, here we go. There it is. How about that? Sorry, guys. Once again, if you guys want to participate in the chat whenever I do a debugging, feel free to connect to this IRC server, and you can get your outputted slowly, because I have it sleep. 500 milliseconds per line here. Still though, it's kind of neat to kind of just watch it all stream out. Like, this is the whole point of why we're doing this whole publisher and consumer model right here. We're able to look at it one line at a time. It's not affecting the read buffer whatsoever, and we're able to go through this, super nicely and smoothly, and it'll allow us to do interesting things with it. But anyway, so like I said, if you guys want to go ahead and connect to 38.22.9.70.22 at port 666, the devil's port with the number 7 after that. I'm in the Fred or F lols test channel, and that's where my bot's going to be at. And I'm just going to go ahead and connect to this and start typing to myself to make sure that everything is still running a-okay. See, it shows that I joined. My bot's already in there. Hello, bot. And there it is. So now obviously you're only going to see anything that pops up in here if you've actually type it in here in your IRC chat while I'm debugging. But anyway, I don't know when I started this. Hold on, let me check the time real quick. 55 minutes. Wow, so I spent an entire hour doing one simple thing. I've been talking way too much. Maybe I should just not talk as much the next video and just get right into the thick of it. Which brings up the next point. I'm just gonna go ahead and call it a night for that, since I'm about up on the hour. But if we looked at the README, I did accomplish this goal. I wanted to add the data structure to the application, and then next time we're actually going to do things with it now. Finally, this is going to be interesting. This is going to take like multiple videos to get done as well, definitely, because there's just not a trivial library that we can just plug on in there into this thing. So to do what I need to do, maybe there is, but I kind of doubt it. Even if there was, I don't want to, because we're making our own chat bot, or we're making our own IRC bot. So what I want to do with it is vastly different from what someone else might want to do with it. So I might add some commands to it, and that would require parsing of commands coming from the server. So I'm going to have to add some sort of like compiler logic into this thing at some point, or interpreter logic into this at some point. And yeah, that's what we're going to get going on next time. So I just thought I'd take this opportunity to mention that I will not be doing a video tomorrow or Sunday or Monday. I think I'm going to set up a rule for myself where I don't do videos on the weekends, so I can, get out of the house, maybe. But Mondays, I participate in Code for America, so that's the reason why Monday, I'm not going to pick this up on Monday. Tuesday, I have a very complicated launch scheduled for one of our apps at work, so I'm not going to be around, or we do those in the evening because that's after business hours, so that's why I'm not picking back up on Tuesday. So hopefully Wednesday at the earliest. Who knows if Tuesday the launch gets pushed back another day. Anything could happen. So with that said, I hope we all learned something from me learning something. Just a quick recap of all that we've done, or all that I've done this past week is set up the basic variables needed the most important part is what we've done this week is we've set up commands to go into the connect to the IRC server, set up handling, so we can properly close our application, buffer and read input from the server, and then actually like really do the buffering or the reading from the server here too. So yeah, I mean quite a bit actually, and it's just gonna get even more big. So I will start doing some more interesting things with C in the upcoming week or weeks. So I love doing interpreter stuff, so I'm excited to try out some strategies on that. With that said, I'm going to go look at the comments and see if anyone's been chatting. I forgot to do that today, and no one's there chatting, so that's perfect. No questions to answer, so I think that's it. All right, well, thank you, and have a good week.